can I please have your attention? And I need all of you to stop what you're doing and listen.
It's time for the Sports Blitz, the only live-streamed local sports show in Arkansas, with all the latest on the sports stories that matter to you. Live from the Lions Den Golf Club studio, here are your hosts, Mark Freeman and Weldon Braxton.
Welcome into the Cogswell Motors Studios for the first time in 2014. Hope you enjoyed yourself last night and you're not dragging booty like I am this morning. Stay up till 2 o'clock in the morning. I'm old, man. It's not normal for me. But we welcome you in on the first day of the year. Mark Freeman, Weldon Braxton, Maddie Lassiter. Weldon, you and I both stayed up a little past our normal bedtime last night, didn't we?
We did. Now, we didn't participate in any typical New Year's Eve activities.
No, I was playing board games with friends.
Yeah,
friends.
I was at church, so there you go. I didn't get any calls from anybody saying, "Hey, come bail me out." So that I considered it a win just because of that. But Happy New Year to everybody out there. As Mark said, we are here for this special first episode of the Sports Blitz here in 2014. A lot going on. Johnny Football certainly sent us out of 2013 with a huge performance, nearly 400 yards passing, 4 touchdowns, rushed for 70-something yards. He showed a big-time effort in what's probably, let's just say it, he's coming out in his last game in a Texas A&M Aggie uniform, Mark. I look forward to looking at that. You got college football bowl games, the SEC off to a nice start, 3-0. Mississippi State took care of business against Rice yesterday. Huge games for the league today. You got 3 head-to-head matchups against the Big Ten. 2 of the SEC teams are going to be without their starting quarterback. We know Zach Mettenberger is out. Aaron Murray is out. So we'll see how the SEC responds.
We've got, like you said, some good college football talk. We've got the NFL playoffs. We're going to give you our predictions for the entire playoffs. And then next week we'll come in, and once we're completely wrong, we'll do this all over again.
That's right.
But we'll give you our predictions for the playoffs and how that's going to go. I want to talk a lot about Johnny Manziel today because, like you said, it was his last, his final shining performance there in a Texas A&M uniform. He finished, I think I counted it up a little bit ago, 11 yards, less than 20 yards, shy of 10,000 for his career in 2 years. Unbelievable what the dude did, running the ball, passing the ball, just commanding his team. And, that defense they have was horrible. They were down 38-17 at the half. They were just...
That's too generous. Horrible is way too generous.
I couldn't even say a word mean enough for how bad that defense was. And Duke obviously wasn't much better because they couldn't stop them in the second half. But it was a very exciting game. Want to look a little bit at that. There's some coaching news on the college and NFL fronts because you've got a big name, so to speak, in the college football ranks, and Bill O'Brien going to Houston to take over for the Texans. We'll talk about the implications of that decision, and Charlie Strong being sought after by Texas possibly. So that's a little bit of news that we'll want to hit today. But let's start real quickly with our Peters Family Living local sports look. First one of 2014. I hope we have a good year with Peters Family Living. They do a good job supporting local sports and just a local business in and of itself. So you're going to go have a early year resolution to go get you some new furniture and go down there and visit Bill Peters and get you some. Let them know that the Sports Blitz and River Valley Leaders sent you. We talked on Monday about the Clarksville Panthers playing in the finals of the Hot Springs Spa City Classic against Hot Springs Lakeside. We talked about how it would be home court advantage for Lakeside. There at Summit Arena. There's 2 things I like about this. One, you get the hostile road environment. I know it's not in Lakeside's home gym, but it's in Hot Springs, and they're from Hot Springs. Also, it's at Summit Arena. Last year, the state championship games moved to Barton Coliseum. This year, they're back at Summit Arena.
Oh, really?
So Coach Davis is getting his team a little bit of experience in that atmosphere. I think it's ingenious. Clarksville wins 48-30, despite a triangle and 2. Yeah, there I go. First of the year, losing my helmet there. Clarksville wins 48-30 despite a triangle and 2 defense. I was talking to a couple of players and Coach Davis, and they were basically not really surprised by what they saw. But the Lee brothers, Kendrick and Freddie, both had to deal with that defense that was basically geared to stop them. Freddie Lee coming off a 35-point performance where he went 15 of 20, hit 6 or 7 threes, just went crazy in the semifinals. So they went triangle and two, junk defense to try to stop him, and it slowed Clarksville down.
Yeah, I mean, you're going to see that if you're Clarksville, especially when you're playing an inferior opponent. Now, if somebody more to their level may not try something like that, but when you do play someone who, they're willing to admit they can't guard you straight up, you'll see some things like that. And it's good for Clarksville to be able to play through that because, maybe at some point in a tournament, a state tournament, they may see something like that. So even though it was more of a slower, more of a grinded out type affair, it was good to see them be able to win a game like that. So good job, Clarksville, and congratulations.
Congratulations again for winning that tournament. They've got the Hurricane Classic up in Jonesboro. Starts tomorrow. Coach Davis was on with us on Monday talking about how they enjoy that tournament. It's home for him, and kids get to stay at his parents' house, and his mom gets to cook a big meal for him, and it apparently is a really good deal for them.
Yeah.
The Pottsville Apaches also took place in a tournament there in Alma. Last year they lost in the finals. This year they lost in the third place game. They lost a 1-point heartbreaker to Farmington to put themselves in the losers bracket final. And then in the third place game, came out and played pretty well for the first half. And in the third quarter, Gravett just jumped out all over them. Went on a 9-0 run, didn't look back. The Apaches fell in that one. Michael Perry, 31 points in the loss, and I hate it for them that they're having these growing pains. I knew that without the big men that they had last year, they're going to have a little bit of a learning curve, and it's going to take a little time for them to get it together. But what I like, now this is inside information you won't get anywhere else, but I know this to be a fact because a coach told me they get off the bus from that game. Michael Perry just had 31 points, and they lost. And he texts the coach, and he says, "Coach, will you let me into the gym? I need to get some shots up." Because the Gravett players were backing off of him and saying, "Go ahead and shoot it. We're going to keep you out of the paint, but go ahead and shoot it." And they said he missed a bunch of shots. He had 31 points, but he missed some shots.
Right.
He wasn't happy. He wanted to get in the gym and work on it. It's good to see, and that kind of work ethic, that kind of coaching is going to get Pottsville to the next level, and I feel like they're going to compete once again for the 4A4.
What ultimate sign of disrespect. Yeah, I would be in the same position as Michael if that happened to me. I mean, you mean a defense is going to back off me, daring me to shoot? I mean, that's what teams do to Rondo and people like that. I mean, ultimate sign of disrespect. I can't blame Michael Perry whatsoever getting back in the gym immediately and wanting to make people pay. I mean, you talk about, that's just getting me mad. Talk about backing off me
And that messes with me. I'd rather you be in my face than be like way away from me. That just messes me up bad. So I understand, and it's good though. I've watched Michael work a lot, and knowing the coaches at Pottsville and knowing how hard they say he works, it's kind of a shame that he has to deal with that right now because watching him this summer. Dude, he was just dropping bombs. Every tournament game that I watched, every camp that I went to, he's hitting threes, he's hitting the mid-range, he's got it all working. And right now he's just in a little bit of a shooting slump. I knew at the beginning, his ankle was still a little messed up from football, and then it was going to take a little while for him to get back in the swing. I think he's sort of hit a wall, an early season wall. Now, 31 points in his last game, and here I am talking about a wall. He'll get his second win. The team will kind of, the chemistry will work out. They've got a lot of guards, and they're going to have to get some big play from some of their bigs, but I think they'll come around and they'll make a run for the state tournament. They'll at least make it out of the conference, being one of the top 4 teams. Then they'll make a run in the district tournament and go on to regional. They want to do what they can to make a state tournament. So they've got all the pieces. I feel like they're gonna at least get a chance. Mm-hmm. I don't want to do what I did last year and say they're going to make the state tournament. They're going to at least have a chance, especially with a guy like Michael Perry on your team. You're going to have a shot because he's going to put everything he's got into it. So.
Yeah, I mean, you never know how it's going to go. We're still, it's January the 1st. A lot of things will happen. We get into February and March that we didn't see coming at this point of the year. So, Pottsville, they're struggling a little bit. They've lost a couple of games recently, but I don't think it's time to put them away or anything. Again, a lot of things can happen. Teams can get better. We're about to talk about college football. I tell you, a team who really was mediocre at best early in the year. They're now playing for the national championship, the Auburn Tigers. So teams can get better throughout the year. Pottsville basketball can be that team.
No, you're definitely right. Let's switch gears because we're going to hit some college football here in a little bit. Our CrossFit Russellville poll question today deals with Johnny Manziel, and it's just it's a very basic question. How do you think he's going to fare in the NFL? Are you one that thinks he's going to light it up like he has in college? Are you one that thinks when he gets to the NFL, he's just going to be absolute garbage? I've heard some people who think that that's how it's going to go. You think he's going to be somewhere in the middle? Let us know what you think today. You can give us a call at 968-NEWS, or you can find us on Facebook, facebook.com/sportsblitz. We would love to hear from you. But we've had a lot of bowl games take place in Weldon. We've talked a little bit about them. But since we've been on the air, the Oregon Ducks send Mac Brown out a loser 30-7. And Texas Tech beat Arizona State 37-23. UCLA beat Virginia Tech 42-12. This happened before last Monday, but right. Louisville beat Miami 36-9. We'll talk about that Texas A&M game here in a moment. Northern Illinois lost 21-14. Yesterday, Mississippi State beat Rice 44-7. So like you said, the SEC playing pretty well right now. They haven't played too many teams that are any good.
Yeah.
But they're at least winning the games that are in front of them.
Yeah, they've been favored in all their games thus far. And a lot of the games you mentioned, Mark, a lot of talking points we could hit if we had a couple hours. You took Teddy Bridgewater and what he did. And so many things going on. But Mississippi State, because I said this in our pre-show meeting the other day about momentum and coaches' momentum. And Dan Mullen's a guy who you kind of look at and you say, well, he's got the program stable. They go to bowl games. They even win bowl games. But where is he at in terms of getting them to that next level? Look, if you're a coach in the SEC or any major conference, you need to have the perception of one of two things. You need to, A, be already on top, already be one of the big boys in the league, or you need to be a first or second year coach giving the illusion or at least giving the perception that you're climbing towards the top. If you're not in one of those two categories, then you're in trouble. It really doesn't matter what your record is. If you're not giving a perception that you're climbing towards the top or on the top, you're going to be in trouble. And I targeted two coaches, Mark, before the year that needed to up the ante a little bit, Dan Mullen and Gary Pinkel, because if you look at the other 12 coaches in the SEC, they're either on top, climbing towards the top, or they have a first-year coach who gives them the hope of being up there. I think this was a huge win for Dan Mullen. If he had lost this game, he would have finished the year 6-7, and even if he kept his job, the seat would have been red hot next year.
Yeah, you're right. From a guy who a couple years ago was just a hot name for everybody. Now look what he's doing at Mississippi State.
Happens.
Where is he going to end up? And then, like you said, now he's fighting for his job there at Mississippi State.
He is, and in the SEC, it turns so quickly. I mean, I'm not saying Hugh Freeze is going downhill at Ole Miss, but Hugh Freeze, hot name, hot recruiter, taking over the state of Mississippi. This year was supposed to win 9, maybe 10 games, didn't. He's not in any danger or anything, but you could kind of see if Hugh Freeze has another 7-5 year, then the hot name from last year, after next year could be kind of, well, what's going on? I mean, it can flip around so quick.
What have you done for me lately?
That's what it's about.
That's the whole league. It's the danger of the league as well, because you can be hot one moment and then nothing the next. And you've got guys like James Franklin, who he's done a really good job to get Vanderbilt to where they are, and now his name is in the mix all over the place. He might be the next guy at Penn State. There's just all kinds of talk about him, but if he came out and had another, had a below 500 season after he's killing at recruiting, they're well, what are you? What kind of coach are you? So, like you said, just 1 year can do so much. And I think about in the NFL, a guy like Eli Manning. A couple of years ago, we're talking, is he elite? This year, he can't throw it to his own jersey. It's just...
He's good at throwing it to the other jersey.
It's unbelievable how 1 year can just change your perception of people very, very quickly. So
Yeah. I mean, you're right. And just, I go back, I think about the state of Mississippi, Mark. That dynamic just it gets me because, when Dan Mullen first gets to the SEC, Houston Nutt's all worn out. He kind of takes over that state for Mississippi State. Houston Nutt, he's fired. Hugh Freeze comes in. He kind of takes over the state from Hugh Freeze, and it's a cycle.
Well, you're right. We'll look here in just a minute at the hot names of the day, because I want to look at the hot name for me in college football right now, a guy who everybody knew coming into this year that he was the best player in the country. And, Jameis Winston, I don't want to say he won it by default, but he and Johnny Manziel were by far the two best players in the country. Johnny Manziel just wasn't winning the Heisman, as I said before the year, because of all the junk he did in the offseason. I have to give him credit, though, because he shut his mouth before that Alabama game, didn't open it again. Now, you saw some acting out last night in the game. And I heard a lot of folks that I was sitting there with last night talking about how they hated what he was doing. No. I didn't hate it. I didn't hate the way he acted because he was getting after guys. He was trying to motivate his team. Newsflash, they came back and won the game. So what he did worked. You may not like it, but it worked.
Johnny Manziel is big time player, and I think the talk of that's nonsense. When we come back from the break, I want to talk about what Johnny Manziel did from a leadership standpoint. That's a little bit overrated, or what some people would consider overrated.
Over 69 years of treating you like family, Peters Family Living's main goal is customer service. That is their promise to their customers. They offer in-house financing on furniture and appliances and a 30-day money-back guarantee. For a friendly, no-pressure atmosphere, visit Peters Family Living today at 201 North Arkansas Avenue, Russellville. Online at petersfamilyliving.com or call 479-968-2929.
Today, there are more than 20 brands of cars being sold in America. So to be noticed, Ford and Cogswell Motors have to go further than anyone thought we could. How does Ford stand out above the crowd? Not just with plug-in vehicles like the new 2013 Ford Fusion Energy that gets a projected 100 miles per gallon equivalent, but also with a line of gas vehicles equipped with the innovative EcoBoost engines combining power and efficiency, plus a full measure of technologically advanced features. We invite you to stop into Cogswell Motors today. We go further than anyone thought we could, so that you can go further too.
RiverValleyLeader.com is the #1 local source for instant news in the River Valley, offering HD video and live streaming along with top-notch coverage of all the news and events around the area. The River Valley Leader is the only place to go for all the information you need. Check out the newest local business featured on the site, as well as police news and coverage from important meetings, along with the personal stories, all at one convenient click. Check out RiverValleyLeader.com.
If you didn't count on KARK4 today this morning,
here's what you missed.
Updated news.
Police continue searching for suspects after a home intrusion overnight.
Developing stories.
It's another piece of presidential history turning up here in Arkansas.
And weather and traffic on the force.
Friday night, Saturday morning will bring us our next chance rain.
Every 10 minutes.
Around the clock.
Making your day easier.
So rise and shine and count on.
Count on.
Count on. KARK4 today.
Hi folks, Richard Roberts with Cogswell Motors in Russellville. You know, we've been in business since 1949. A dealership doesn't stay in business that long under the same ownership unless you're doing something right, and that's taking care of customers. We have the largest selection of new Ford, Lincoln, Mazda, and pre-owned vehicles in the River Valley. So if you want the most for your trade, the best interest rate on financing, and the best price on a new or pre-owned automobile, come to Russellville and see us. We're at 1900 East Main, or visit us on the web at cogswellmotors.com.
Welcome back to the first episode of the Sports Blitz in 2014. Welcome back into the Cogswell Motors Studios. Martin Freeman, Maddie Lassiter, Weldon Braxton. I switched it up on you guys.
Jukin.
Yeah, it's a little. Oh yeah. Glad to have you along for the ride today. Give us a call at 968 News if you want to talk sports. 968-6397. We're here till noon, and then we are hitting the road. It's a day off.
Hitting the TV. That's
I'm going to sit down and just click, 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 click. No, I don't get to do that today. I wish I did.
Oh, yeah, you got stuff. Yeah.
But, hey, I'm going to get to play some ball and hang out with some teenagers and keep my youth for a little while.
There you go.
Today's CrossFit Russellville poll question: what do you think about Johnny Manziel and his future in the NFL? How do you think he will fare in the NFL? It's going to be, to me, a completely different discussion as it would have been, coming into the year. I thought, I don't know that Johnny Manziel is going to be a good pro. But after watching this year, and, he still gets away with some of the bonehead decisions, in my opinion, but his accuracy and his arm strength, to me, have proven that he can at least play at an NFL level. And then when you put in all the intangibles together, I feel like he's got a chance to be something special in the league if he can deal with whatever injury is coming. The NFL, it's not an if you're going to get hurt, it's a when you're going to get hurt type of league. And Johnny Manziel being sort of slight of stature, he's going to get hurt at some point. Don't know what that injury is going to be. Don't know, how things will go for him in his NFL career. But can he deal with the size and the speed and the athleticism and, the fact that you can't make so many crazy decisions in the NFL and live to tell about it. You're going to get smoked. You're going to get your passes picked off. You're going to get your butt set on the bench. Can he adapt and evolve and become a successful NFL quarterback?
Really good question, Mark. We're in a time of year. We just had our Black Monday. You're seeing coaches fired, even some front office people fired. And a big reason why a lot of coaches are fired after the week 17 of the season is because they don't hitch their wagon to the right franchise quarterback. Not every situation. Jim Schwartz, he had a franchise quarterback in Stafford, but a lot of times when you're a new GM and you're a new coach, you get one shot to draft or bring in your so-called franchise guy. You get one shot, and if he fails, usually after a 3 or 4 year cycle and you're not winning games, you're out of a job as a coach and a GM. So the question to me, Mark, is Johnny Manziel, when I look at this draft, is he the guy, if I'm a new GM, I'm a new coach, am I willing to put my eggs in his basket and say, if this guy flops, I know I'm out of a job. If he makes it big time, we're going to win a lot. And I'm here to tell you, I would roll with Johnny Manziel for a number of reasons. First of all, from an intangible standpoint, he is big time. A lot of guys know how to be rah-rah. They know how to cheer and put on an act when the cameras are on, and some people are actually genuine. Johnny Manziel, everything last night was genuine. I'm pretty good at telling what's fake and what's real. That wasn't just an act. Johnny Manziel was rallying his troops. Johnny Manziel was getting into it, and he got his guys ready to play in that second half. That's an intangible that it's intangible. You can't teach it. It's something that you can't fake, you can't duplicate. And there are a lot of quarterbacks in the league right now who don't have that. And you look at on the field, Johnny Manziel can throw the football. It's not Tim Tebow. It's not even Michael Vick. He doesn't have the arm strength of Michael Vick, but from an accuracy
standpoint, at least he has a clue where it's going, huh?
Yeah, from an accuracy standpoint, he has a clue where it's going, and just understanding the passing game. Quarterbacks in this generation, from the high school level up, they're taught NFL-type passing concepts. So you're seeing guys who are better passers early in their career, as opposed to Vick. Really didn't get a lot of that in high school and college. So I think Johnny Manziel's ready as a passer. He's ready as a leader. Physically, you make a great point about the possibility of him getting hurt. I definitely think it's out there. And I'll say the same thing about him that I say about RG3. It's okay to run, but you can't take the punishing hits at the end. A lot of the times, these quarterbacks, like an RG3, you can avoid big-time punishment if you know when to get down and get out of bounds. Understand, you are not a running back. You don't finish runs. Yeah, I want my backs to finish runs, get that extra yard or two by putting your shoulder down. You're a quarterback. You run, you take your yardage, you slide, you give yourself up, you go out of bounds. Don't you dare lower your shoulder. If you do that, you can still run. Russell Wilson's one of the best at it. He doesn't take those shots. Kaepernick, every now and then, he'll take a shot, but he knows how to get down and get out of bounds. Johnny Manziel, if he can do some things to keep himself healthy, he is a big-time player, and I'd roll with him.
I want to look at it even more simplistic because, like you said, it comes down to a feel, and you have to have a quarterback in the NFL to be successful. You have this year, if you're in need of a quarterback, you've got to get one of a certain small pool. I mean, next year you've got Mariota. You'll have probably Winston. Mm-hmm. You'll probably have some more guys to choose from. But this year, you've got A.J. McCarron, Teddy Bridgewater most likely, Johnny Manziel, Taj Boyd, maybe Blake Bortles, Aaron Murray, and Mettenberger, who are coming off injury. So really, if you've got to have a quarterback, and you're going to go quarterback, and probably early on in the draft. Who do you trust more in that? I mean, McCarron, he's kind of a game manager. Do you want him over Johnny Manziel? No. You've talked about Teddy Bridgewater. We'll get into that here in just a moment. Taj Boyd, do you trust him over Johnny Manziel? I don't, because you look at who they play. You look at how they play in big moments.
Big games, yeah.
You look at freaking Alabama, okay? Watch the 2 games that Johnny Manziel just put together the last 2 years against Alabama, the Alabama, and you tell me if he can't hack it against some of the best. Those guys are pros. Every one of them. So you look at these quarterbacks and you say, okay, well, I need a quarterback. Well, who do you trust more? At the end of the day, the risk-reward for Johnny Manziel, knowing what he accomplished in college, it's going to be hard for somebody to pass him up.
And let's be clear, you're not just drafting some athlete. Johnny Manziel is accomplished as a passer. So it's not one of those things, well, can he translate to dropping back and throwing the ball, reading defenses? He's worked with George Whitfield. He is in the passing game. He knows how to operate. So don't think you're just drafting an athlete. This is not the same NFL where, well, can he translate from lining up in shotgun and to being under center and dropping back from under. NFL, you don't have to do that anymore. Just about everybody's going gun to some degree. A lot of teams are going exclusively gun. Look at the Philadelphia Eagles. The league has changed to where it's not a huge adjustment or a huge translation for a guy to play in an A&M spread to playing in the NFL now. So his game, it's easier to read his game. It's easier to tell if he'll succeed.
Well, let's look for the next couple minutes at the 2 college football and NFL where they sort of intertwine, because we're going to look at the playoff picture here in a moment. We're going to give you our predictions after this break. But Bill O'Brien, Penn State head coach, I think he had a $19 million buyout to start this year. It was negotiated down to about $6 million. The Houston Texans take the risk. They interview him. He's going to go be the next head coach for the Houston Texans. First, do you like the hire? Second, who does Penn State go after?
I do like the hire. I think when you look at what Bill O'Brien did at Penn State, we know the circumstances at this point. We don't have to go through it. Obviously difficult. You had guys leave as soon as you got there because they were allowed to transfer without a 1-year penalty, and he was able to have a successful first year. They had some guys cycle out, of course, and with the roster turnover, they weren't quite as good this year, but he did a wonderful job at Penn State. He was with New England before that, worked with Tom Brady, so obviously that's going to impress some NFL personnel to know that he has NFL experience. I think it was a good hire. Penn State, I think there's 2 names that are hot right now. You look at James Franklin. You mentioned him earlier in the show as being a Penn State possibility. Of course, he's a candidate for every job.
Yeah.
And then, a guy who really, when Joe Paterno was in his last couple of years, somebody who was rumored to take over for him was Greg Schiano. Of course, now Greg Schiano is now available, so I think Franklin and Schiano are at the top of the Penn State list.
If you're Schiano, what are you waiting for as far as a coaching job? Do you think you want to go NFL, or do you want to come back down to college?
I don't know if he has an NFL market right now. When you look at the infighting and the things he had going on in that Tampa Bay locker room and some of the players not being too hot on him, although he did gain some credibility by Josh Freeman bombing in Minnesota, that did help his credibility.
Well, and the fact that they won some games toward the end of the
year.
Yeah,
they did, and he may get another NFL shot. I just think he'll probably look at the college ranks. Penn State, of course, you've got another couple of years on the bowl ban and the sanctions that may detract some people, but I think he may look for a nice college job.
Well, he's going to be a hot commodity, so to speak, in the next couple of weeks, as so many coaches now, they're going to be moving and the dominoes are going to fall. And immediately after Bill O'Brien goes to Houston, you've got somebody who's got to go to Penn State, and then somebody's got to go there. And it's just it's going to be interesting to see the route that these coaches go. I wonder, I hadn't heard any more about the Oregon defensive coordinator position what they were going to do with that. I've heard Randy Shannon's name mentioned. Obviously, that's Arkansas's linebackers coach. We'd hoped to keep him around because he's a great recruiter and very well-known guy, especially in the state of Florida where Arkansas is trying to make inroads.
That's where you want to know people at.
Especially after Charlie Partridge leaves, you want those guys with Florida ties and ties. He's got national ties, seeing as how he's been a head coach. So we'll see how the coaching carousel spins. You may even have Charlie Strong leaving Louisville to go to Texas, and there were people asking, would Louisville go back after Petrino?
Yeah.
I think a lot of folks just said no, there's no way they would go back after Petrino. But Charlie Strong, if he did go to Texas, that's a pretty big deal.
Oh, yeah. I mean, and Charlie Strong's a guy who it's been fun. I say it's going to sound weird because he's not a super young guy, but it's been really fun to watch him grow throughout the coaching ranks. You know, being a coordinator at a couple of SEC stops here and there. And just to see him, he goes to Louisville. He has success. We're still a little unsure of him when we see him, but now he's just got Louisville consistent. He's really built that program up. Charlie Strong is somebody who maybe a couple of years ago was kind of a type candidate to now he's really growing into being one of the leading candidates for these big jobs.
Well, I'm reading a tweet here from Tony Barnhart that said James Franklin is the number one target at Penn State. And he said, and I quote, they better hurry. So apparently there are other teams, maybe Texas, who are hot after James Franklin.
Hey, I just heard from Papa John he's making some more pizzas trying to keep Charlie Strong down at Louisville. So Papa John's is not going without a fight.
Oh, that's funny. All right, we're going to look at our NFL picks for the weekend. And if you are a sports investor, you just do the exact opposite of what we say, and you'll be just fine.
Over 69 years of treating you like family, Peters Family Living's main goal is customer service. That is their promise to their customers. They offer in-house financing on furniture and appliances and a 30-day money-back guarantee. For a friendly, no-pressure atmosphere, visit Peters Family Living today at 201 North Arkansas Avenue, Russellville. Online at petersfamilyliving.com or call 479-968-2929.
Today, there are more than 20 brands of cars being sold in America. So to be noticed, Ford and Cogswell Motors have to go further than anyone thought we could. How does Ford stand out above the crowd? Not just with plug-in vehicles like the new 2013 Ford Fusion Energy that gets a projected 100 miles per gallon equivalent, but also with a line of gas vehicles equipped with the innovative EcoBoost engines combining power and efficiency, plus a full measure of technologically advanced features. We invite you to stop into Cogswell Motors today. We go further than anyone thought we could, so that you can go further too.
RiverValleyLeader.com is the #1 local source for instant news in the River Valley, offering HD video and live streaming along with top-notch coverage of all the news and events around the area. The River Valley Leader is the only place to go for all the information you need. Check out the newest local business featured on the site, as well as police news and coverage from important meetings, along with the personal stories, all at one convenient click. Check out RiverValleyLeader.com.
If you didn't count on KARK4 today this morning,
Here's what you missed.
updated news,
Police continue searching for suspects after a home intrusion overnight.
developing stories,
It's another piece of presidential history turning up here in Arkansas.
and weather and traffic on the force.
Friday night, Saturday morning will bring us our next chance of rain.
Every 10 minutes.
Around the clock.
Making your day easier.
So rise and shine and count on.
Count on.
KRK4 today.
Hi folks, Richard Roberts with Cogswell Motors in Russellville. You know, we've been in business since 1949. A dealership doesn't stay in business that long under the same ownership unless you're doing something right, and that's taking care of customers. We have the largest selection of new Ford, Lincoln, Mazda, and pre-owned vehicles in the River Valley. So if you want the most for your trade, the best interest rate on financing, and the best price on a new or pre-owned automobile, come to Russellville and see us. We're at 1900 East Main, or visit us on the web at cogswellmotors.com.
It is Wednesday, January the 1st. We're just a couple of days away from the NFL playoffs getting underway. We've got predictions sure to go wrong here in just a moment. Welcome back into the Sports Blitz on a Wednesday. Thank you for taking time out of your busy New Year's Day, watching some ball, to either watch live or watch the replay today. We thank you. We've got some games, like we said, 2 on Saturday, 2 on Sunday. We've talked about them on Monday, Weldon, and now it's time for us to get our picks out there forever and ever so that everybody will know how wrong or right we were.
Yeah, Mark, and I've kind of gone back and forth, especially in the NFC. Both of the first round matchups, I could kind of see going both ways. You look at the New Orleans Saints traveling to the Philadelphia Eagles. obviously the Eagles at home with that offense, they're confident right now. NFC East champions. You've got New Orleans, who they're the 6th seed, even though they have a better record. Not very great on the road. We've talked about it. When you get outside that dome, they're not very good. But I got to roll with the Saints because I just think it's too much of a cliche to keep talking about how they're not good away from home. They can't do anything away from home. I think Drew Brees locks in. I think he gets it done in Philadelphia. And because New Orleans is the 6th seed, they will play the 1 seed because the structure goes the 1 seed always plays the worst team remaining in the playoffs. So they would go to Seattle, and I got Seattle winning it. I think it'll be a little bit closer than the last time they went to Seattle, but I got Seattle over the New Orleans Saints. On the other side, San Francisco taking on Green Bay. I've been back and forth on this one. I'm going to go ahead and go with San Francisco. They're the better all-around team, but Aaron Rodgers healthy with healthy weapons. I don't care what their deficiencies are on defense. They always have a chance. But I'm going with San Francisco, and I got San Francisco going to Carolina, and I think they're going to beat the Panthers. I just don't have a lot of confidence in the Panthers. They can run it good sometimes. They can throw it good sometimes. Their defense is good. It's great, but it's not great enough to overcome a bad day by Cam Newton, and I think he could have one. I got the 49ers and the Seahawks going with Seattle over San Francisco.
Man, I'm having some trouble here with some of these picks. I'm just going to be honest. I've got Indianapolis over Kansas City. I said it the other day. Kansas City, it wouldn't surprise me at all if Kansas City won that game, but knowing that it's in Indianapolis and Kansas City's kind of been sputtering down the stretch, I'll go with the Colts to win that game. Maybe just, hey, here's an idea. Let's stop Jamal Charles and make Alex Smith beat us. That's what I'd do if I'm Indianapolis, and I think they'll be able to get it done. I'm with you. New Orleans at Philadelphia. I may or may not be picking against Philadelphia because I hate them. But I'm picking the New Orleans Saints to go into Philadelphia and get the win, despite the fact that it's on the road. You look at Drew Brees, Jimmy Graham, the offensive weapons that they've got. They've got the firepower in a shootout to compete with Philadelphia. I think they'll get enough stops to win that game. I don't know. I mean, it's going to be Nick Foles' first real experience.
That's right.
In a playoff atmosphere. Last week could have been if Tony Romo had been playing, and they still nearly lost that game, but if they had been playing against the starting quarterback from Dallas, it would have been more of a playoff-type atmosphere. It's going to be his first opportunity to play in a playoff situation, so that's going to be fun. I'll go New Orleans close in that one. The San Diego-Cincinnati game I've gone back and forth on. I said on Monday that Cincinnati would win the game. I've got Cincinnati half-circled on this. I couldn't even make the whole circle because I was just like, when I thought about it, I thought, man, I don't know that I trust Cincinnati and Andy Dalton and I really don't trust San Diego and Phillip Rivers, but he's just one of those dudes that can get so hot.
Right.
That it's just like, this is stupid. He's completing passes. He doesn't, he's throwing it over his head, around his back, not even looking, that type of stuff. So it could be one of those nights where he comes out, or one of those nights, it'd be 12:05 on Sunday, where he just comes out and goes crazy. But I'll roll with Cincinnati close in that one. The home team, tough defense. I think they'll figure out a way to get it done at home. San Francisco at Green Bay, 11,000 unsold tickets in Lambeau Field. They've got like 377, I think, game sellout streak on the line there at Lambeau Field. They've got 100,000 people on the waiting list to get season tickets. People have to die. 319 games consecutive sellout. People have to die before you can get season tickets to watch the Packers, but they've got 11,000 unsold tickets. That tells me that they don't have a whole lot of confidence in an 8-7-1 team coming against San Francisco and winning that game. With that being said, if your own fans don't even believe in you, I'm going to go San Francisco to win that game. Close. Aaron Rodgers is a bad dude, and I feel he'll have his team in position. But like we talked about early in the year, San Francisco's just got so many guys on the defensive side of the football that can just make noise. Patrick Willis, Alden Smith, all the guys that they've got, the other Smith. They just got everybody on the defensive side of the ball that can wreak havoc. So I think if Colin Kaepernick doesn't play just a terrible game, they'll be able to score enough points to outscore Green Bay and outdo Aaron Rodgers, even on the road. I've got San Francisco winning. And right now, it's hard for me not to say, okay, well, let's look at the AFC and the NFC. Who's going to beat Seattle at Seattle? Who's going to beat Denver at Denver? And go anywhere other than Seattle, Denver, in the Super Bowl in New York.
That's where you're going.
It's such a crappy, like, no brains pick at all,
Right.
no guts about me. But seeing Seattle play at home, knowing that they're going to turn it up and they're going to put people into freaking comas with the headache they're going to give them with how loud it's going to be up there. I feel like Seattle's got the easiest as far as home field advantage over everybody. You saw what they did to San Francisco, who I thought was a better team.
Yeah.
Up there in Seattle, it was a massacre. And then Denver playing up there in the mile high air, it didn't affect the Ravens too terribly much last year.
No.
But Denver really, the Ravens go on to win the Super Bowl, and Denver had them. I mean, it was a Hail Mary to win that game, or Denver could have been in that situation. I feel like this year they're going to find a way. Wes Welker coming back from his concussion, they're going to find a way to run through the AFC. I don't know if they'll meet up with the Patriots or who they'll meet up with there in the AFC, but I think the Denver Broncos and the Seattle Seahawks are going to make it into the Super Bowl. Did we pick that yet? Who's going to win the Super Bowl?
I got to finish my AFC.
Okay, because I don't want to go that far.
Yeah.
I don't know that I even have a Super Bowl favorite yet.
Yeah, we're just making the matchups. I had Seattle, as I said, winning the NFC. In the AFC, I do have Cincinnati over San Diego. San Diego is hot. They could be dangerous, but I said this before. Marvin Lewis, you need to win a playoff game. It's time for you, with the talent you have on this roster, Andy Dalton, it's time for you guys to bring it together and actually get the job done. It's time for you guys to make a run and justify the roster that you have. So I have Cincinnati winning as the 3 seed. And then I do have Kansas City. I think you and I flip-flop picks because I was leaning Indy. Now I'm going Kansas City. Andy Reid, when you give him a chance to get ready for the playoffs, he's usually good in his first playoff game. Alex Smith, they'll be prepared. Obviously, they're not explosive, although lately they have been trying to go downfield a little bit more. They don't quite have the weapons. They don't quite have anything outside of Jamal Charles as far as throwing the ball down the field. The defense, can it get a little bit healthy? Because if the defense can get healthy and get back right, I think they're a better team than Indy, but it'll be a good game against Andrew Luck and company. So I've got Kansas City and Cincinnati winning wild card weekend. That would set up a 2-3 matchup with New England and Cincinnati. I can't go against Tom Brady. He's got some weapons missing, but he's figured out how to make the weapons he has work. Edelman and those guys are just ready. Shane Vereen, he's got weapons at his disposal. It's not Gronk or anything, but he's got guys. I think they get it done against Cincinnati. I've got Kansas City playing against Denver. I think Denver gets them again. Denver can just score too many points for Kansas City to keep up with. I think they beat them for a third time this year. Then I've got, two of the all-time greats, the Sheriff against Mr. Cool going against each other one more time. Peyton Manning, Tom Brady. I'm going with Peyton Manning this time. I got the Denver Broncos and the Seattle Seahawks in the Super Bowl.
Here we go. Now, I don't know where we're going to go with this Super Bowl pick. We're going to save that. We're not going to give that to you yet because, regardless of whether or not we make the pick today, we got some football to be played, and it's going to be a couple weeks before we even know if that happens. But if we come back here a couple weeks from now, we got the 1 seeds matching up in the Super Bowl, at least we'll look like smart guys for that week while we predict.
At least none of our Super Bowl picks can be eliminated this weekend.
That's true.
At least neither one of them.
That's true, but our Super Bowl picks from preseason were not very good. So
yeah, mine's got the number 1 pick. My AFC champions got the number 1 pick.
That's cracked me up. Houston Texans, man. I had them going though. I was saying before the year the Atlanta Falcons, one of the most talented teams in the NFL, and they sucked.
Yeah,
they completely sucked all year. So what can I say? We're here on the show. You choose whether or not to subject yourself to listening to us ramble about stuff and be completely wrong. But hey, you're just as likely to get the right answer out of us as you are from any old TV news folk. Now you listen to some of those predictions that some of these guys make on the big channels, and you wonder where in the world they got their credentials.
I remember Tony Dungy. Tony, I love you, but a couple of weeks ago he had the Minnesota Vikings going at Cincinnati and winning, and Cincinnati beat them by like 3 or 4 touchdowns.
Yeah, well,
love you, Tony.
It's just some of those things people won't remember if you got it wrong, but they'll definitely remember if you got it right, and that's why some of these guys just go out there on that limb. I don't like to do that very often. One problem I have is hedging my bets too much. I'm just like, oh, well, this team could win, but this team could win too. And then everybody's just like, well, you didn't really make a stance. So
Right.
I have to try to do better with that. Still no score in the Nebraska-Georgia game. That's a shocker, isn't it? Neither team's got a quarterback. Georgia got Todd Gurley, but they're going to have to figure out a way to get him some room to run with the quarterback. They know he can't beat them. So Nebraska is sort of loading the box there, it seems, against Georgia. So we'll pay attention to that game. UNLV, North Texas tied at 7 apiece. 1 minute left in the first quarter. So we've got plenty more Sports Blitz right after this break. It's our last segment of the first show of 2014. Stay with us.
Over 69 years of treating you like family, Peters Family Living's main goal is customer service. That is their promise to their customers. They offer in-house financing on furniture and appliances and a 30-day money-back guarantee. For a friendly, no-pressure atmosphere, visit Peters Family Living today at 201 North Arkansas Avenue, Russellville. Online at petersfamilyliving.com or call 479-968-2929.
Today, there are more than 20 brands of cars being sold in America. So to be noticed, Ford and Cogswell Motors have to go further than anyone thought we could. How does Ford stand out above the crowd? Not just with plug-in vehicles like the new 2013 Ford Fusion Energy that gets a projected 100 miles per gallon equivalent, but also with a line of gas vehicles equipped with the innovative EcoBoost engines combining power and efficiency, plus a full measure of technologically advanced features. We invite you to stop into Cogswell Motors today. We go further than anyone thought we could, so that you can go further too.
RiverValleyLeader.com is the #1 local source for instant news in the River Valley, offering HD video and live streaming along with top-notch coverage of all the news and events around the area. The River Valley Leader is the only place to go for all the information you need. Check out the newest local business featured on the site, as well as police news and coverage from important meetings, along with the personal stories, all at one convenient click. Check out RiverValleyLeader.com.
If you didn't count on KARK4 today this morning,
Here's what you missed.
updated news,
Police continue searching for suspects after a home intrusion overnight.
developing stories,
There's another piece of presidential history turning up here in Arkansas.
and weather and traffic on the force.
Friday night, Saturday morning will bring us our next chance rain.
Every 10 minutes.
Around the clock.
Making your day easier.
So rise and shine and count on.
Count on.
Count on KRK4 today.
Hi folks, Richard Roberts with Cogswell Motors in Russellville. You know, we've been in business since 1949. A dealership doesn't stay in business that long under the same ownership unless you're doing something right, and that's taking care of customers. We have the largest selection of new Ford, Lincoln, Mazda, and pre-owned vehicles in the River Valley. So if you want the most for your trade, the best interest rate on financing, and the best price on a new or pre-owned automobile, come to Russellville and see us. We're at 1900 East Main, or visit us on the web at cogswellmotors.com.
So Peyton Manning broke the touchdowns record, 55 touchdowns in a season. Broke the record of 50 by Tom Brady a couple years ago. Also broke Drew Brees' yards record for a season. And sort of in controversial fashion, it was brought back up that Peyton Manning may have thrown a lateral on one of those passes, and he's ahead by 1 yard. So they were talking about taking that record away, and Weldon, you and I both agree when we talked about this pre-show, that would have been a huge travesty to take that record away for one very simple reason. He won by 1 yard. They took him out. He could have stayed in and thrown for as many more yards as he felt like, and had that record free and clear. If they took that record away from him, it's something that really he couldn't do anything about after the fact, but he could have easily had the record otherwise.
Would have been really disappointing, and not just because I'm a Peyton Manning fan, but it would be disappointing. And I think I heard Trevor Maddich say yesterday that it's fair to Drew Brees. It would be fair to him to get it right and do the review process, and I understand that. The motives, that's what I'm questioning. I'm questioning what prompted a review of this? Because do we review all records? Every time somebody breaks a record, do we go back and check the tape from that game or when they broke it to make sure everything was on point? That doesn't sound like something that's always done. Maybe it is, and I'm wrong, but it doesn't seem like you go back and you check every single yard that was gained or every single what have you. So it was a little bit suspicious, a little bit strange to me that somebody felt the need to go back and analyze that, and almost as if they were looking to take something away from Peyton Manning, as if they had something out for him.
Well, you made the joke about who on Drew Brees' payroll.
Yeah, who on Drew Brees' payroll. I'm not sure Drew would really do anything like that, but it's strange to me. It comes across to me, Mark, as if somebody really wanted to do some digging and really wanted to kind of jab at Peyton Manning. That's how it feels to me. I don't feel like it was some honest record bookkeeper who wanted to just make sure everything was nice and right. It just feels like somebody had an ulterior motive.
Yeah, it was a little, like I said, a little ridiculous. And especially if they had taken that away, that would have been really bad. That would have been bad look. So they got lucky that apparently it was okay. It was legit, and it wasn't a lateral.
Yeah.
That pass that broke the record was going to stand. Let's move on real quickly because we don't have a whole lot of time left, but we've got to look at some bowl games that were going to take place, the BCS games that will take place before we get back on the air on Friday and, well, I guess into Monday. We'll have 3 BCS games. Tonight, you've got Stanford, Michigan State in the Rose Bowl, and you've got the Fiesta Bowl with Central Florida and Baylor. And then the one that I'm looking most forward to, just for – I feel like an Alabama fan the more I talk about the team in this year, but I guess I get a little bit of a sense of happiness from watching them pound people because of all the talk about the SEC, and eventually I hope Arkansas can be in that situation. But the Sugar Bowl, Alabama, Oklahoma, I don't see how it's going to be anything other than a massacre of Oklahoma, but I know that the Oklahoma fan base, the former coaches, you got Barry Switzer coming in there talking to the team about rallying the troops and circling the wagons and that type of thing. I just see Alabama as being so much better as a team.
You better run 2 or 3 circles, Barry. That's how many times. Because look, this is a mismatch, and I get the fact that you want to look at motivation and chip on the shoulder and all that stuff that Oklahoma has. I get that. I'm not saying their effort won't be there. I expect a great effort from Oklahoma, but at the same time, I expect Alabama to be ready too. I don't think you'll see a repeat from the Utah game a few years ago. I think they've now gotten that into their program to where they don't let the hangover effect take place. They lost to Tim Tebow in the SEC title game. They show up at the Sugar Bowl. Utah takes advantage of them, takes care of business. But I expect Alabama to be ready. We remember when they were 9-3, destroyed Michigan State in the Capital One Bowl. I just think the Alabama Crimson Tide will be on their game, and no question about it, they are the better team. Oklahoma issues at quarterback, issues throughout that team. Again, the effort will be there, but I think Alabama will just grind and end up beating them down. I really do.
And moving on to we'll save the Rose Bowl for last because I think that one's a little bit more interesting. The Fiesta Bowl, UCF Baylor. I've got Baylor winning, and I won't watch because I don't care at all about that game. It's a freaking BCS game, and I don't care at all.
Yeah, well, the Fiesta Bowl, they've kind of been shortchanged because of their alliances. With the old Big East, now the ACC tied in with the Big 12. It's kind of hard to get a good matchup out of that. Sometimes they'll get lucky and they'll have sort of an at-large situation where you can get a Boise State or somebody in there. But when they have to go with their true alliance of a Big 12 and an AAC, former Big East, you really don't get a good matchup. You end up with UConn in there and teams like that playing against Oklahoma. Central Florida, their marquee game, one of their marquee games this year was against South Carolina. They nearly won the game. If they had, they'd be in the mix maybe for a national championship. I've watched them play. I just don't think they're that great. They do have Bortles, the quarterback. I think Bryce Petty and company get it going again. They beat Texas. They didn't look good against Oklahoma State. That's their only loss. I think they get it back together and score some points in the Fiesta Bowl.
You're a nice guy to have a little bit of a breakdown on that game. Like I said, I really don't care at all about that game. Rose Bowl, Stanford, Michigan State. My goodness, if 12 people don't end up with a bloody nose in this game, I don't know what
Yeah.
happened, because this is going to be a smash-mouth football game. I don't know who I would favor. I didn't do one of the bowl confidence picks things this year. I would probably favor Stanford close, just because I feel like I really don't have an real reason for why I would pick Stanford. It's just a gut feeling I would pick Stanford to win the game. Both teams very, very similar to one another. The Big Ten, to me, just sucks. So I'll go with Stanford close.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. I got to give Stanford the edge, too. You're right. Really two physical teams. I give Stanford an edge for a couple of reasons. First of all, the teams they've played. They've played, I think, 4 or 5 games against top 40 defenses, which really tells me something. We know about the Big Ten and their schedule and some of the teams they didn't play. Michigan State obviously beat Ohio State, but Ohio State, I think we all believe they were a little bit overrated. I just like Kevin Hogan. Kevin Hogan's a good quarterback. Yeah, I know Michigan State, they're having good play at the quarterback position as well, but I got to give Hogan the advantage. Tyler Gaffney, one of the better running backs in the country, have to give him the edge. I think it'll be a physical, knockdown, drag, all those cliches we throw out with these kind of games. Think it'll be that. Got to give Stanford the edge. It'll be their second straight Rose Bowl victory.
And I guess the most clear and concise way I can say why I pick when two teams are so similar. I don't know that I've ever seen two teams more similar playing one another in a BCS game like this, but I go with, who have you played, who have you beaten? Michigan State beating Ohio State, Stanford beating Oregon, and then I put those two teams and I say, well, who's better, Oregon or Ohio State? If I were to see those two teams play, I would favor Oregon to win that game. So there you go. I've got Stanford just by the closest of margins over Michigan State.
And the Pac-12, to me, hands down the second best conference in the country, too. I don't even think it's close. Not saying the Pac-12 is close to the SEC, but the gap between second and third, I think, is pretty noticeable. Pac-12, a really solid conference this year. So, yeah, Stanford's definitely been tested.
We've got Georgia up 3-0 over Nebraska. 9:25 to go in that one we mentioned just a little bit ago. Out there in Jacksonville, Florida. Apparently it's raining a little bit. We can't see the game, but we are able to follow the box score here. And actually it looks like Nebraska just scored a touchdown. So here we are, breaking news in the Gator Bowl. And then UNLV and North Texas tied at 7 apiece in the Heart of Dallas Bowl. I'd hate
I
was gonna say I'd hate to play in the stomach of Dallas Bowl.
I was about to say that.
Something like that.
The heart of
the
Dallas.
gallbladder of Dallas Bowl. That'd be a tough one to play in there. It's probably really small, but they've just got some random bowl. You remember the Weed Whacker Bowl back in the day? They got some random bowl names. There was one yesterday, the Advocare V100 Bowl or something like that. I was like, what in the world are we doing?
And they've taken off the actual bowl name. Corporate sponsors have taken over so much. No more Peach Bowl. It's the Chick-fil-A Bowl. And, no more Citrus Bowl. Just Capital One just took the whole thing over. So,
Yeah, it used to be the Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl.
Yeah.
Or the what was it, Capital One?
The Citrus used to be the
Citrus Bowl.
Yeah.
And then, because it started out Citrus, and then they throw the sponsor on it, and then they're just like, we'll just throw out the name, and we'll just go with the sponsor.
Yeah, we were paying money. We're going to take the whole thing over. They were talking about that last night with the Chick-fil-A Bowl, how some of the locals were worried about corporate sponsors taking over. So they did a whole peach drop, kind of like dropping the ball. They did a peach drop to kind of keep the peach theme going instead of just corporate Chick-fil-A. So
I heard they were giving away like 20,000 sandwiches throughout the day there in the area. And there's also something else that now that I'm thinking about it, I can't remember something that was going on at a college bowl. Just to sort of remember the traditions of old, because growing up, I did enjoy some of that stuff growing up watching bowl games. But the traditional sponsors are sort of gone. The traditional names are sort of gone, and now you've got the sponsors taking over, which is fine with me because they put up a bunch of money and they make college football fun to watch. So I have to give them that. Let's move on real quickly. Did you see that Tim Tebow? We've just got a couple of minutes left. Tim Tebow got a job. It's not as a quarterback, but he's going to be an analyst for ESPN, do some college football, and talk a little bit of ball. Really, to me, I think it was ESPN doing a smart thing, getting a guy who is going to move the needle, at least for a little while. But I think he could be a very good analyst too. I don't know what he knows, but I know he's a very well-spoken guy, and he's got the credentials, the Heisman Trophy winner, one of the college football greats of all time, and it's a smart move in my estimation for ESPN to go after him.
I agree. The SEC Network launching this summer, obviously he'll be a huge attraction. He did make it clear in his statement. I knew he would. I am still pursuing my dream of being an NFL quarterback. Want to make sure you and I knew he is not giving up on that.
Yeah, well, a couple other things that we want to hit real quickly. Michael Vick, speaking of quarterbacks, will probably never amount to anything the rest of his career. He expects to start at quarterback for a team in 2014. Good luck.
Oh, like the Argonauts or somebody looking for a team.
It would have to be something like that. The NFL Europe, are they still going?
No.
They might have a chance.
The
at
Twisters, no, they're not going.
NFL Europe. Gosh, we're mean. All right. Man.
I do, real quick, one game we did miss, Cotton Bowl tomorrow. Oklahoma State and Missouri should be a really good game. I'll lean Tigers, but, OSU, they're hot up there. It'll be a really good game. Points.
Yeah, I would go Missouri, SEC, seeing as how they've at least, even though they're, to me, still a Big 12 team, they've at least tasted a couple years of the SEC, and now they're going to go in there and play Oklahoma State, who just got beat by Oklahoma a couple weeks ago. And they're going to say, look, we've had some SEC smash mouth. Have some of this.
Would you see the giveaways Missouri did for their bowl? The video circling around. They got hooked up. They got like a Apple TV and an iPad and a bunch of cool clothes.
Swag they got.
Yeah, I know all the bowls give stuff away, but 2 big time electronics. Nice.
Yeah, I remember back in high school reading some of the stuff. They're like, hey, you get a pair of sunglasses, you get a Fossil watch, you get a pair of socks, and you get a package of underwear. And there you go. Here's your bowl swag.
Then it really got cool. Portable CD players. Oh, they're
got a Walkman.
This bowl is awesome.
Oh Lord, college football. It's gone. The sponsors. That's what they do it now. NCAA's had to help a little bit, lifting some of the restrictions on what you can get and raising the ceiling as far as money that they can get, or what the value of the prizes and stuff can be. But all right, we are out of time for today. The Arkansas men's basketball team will be in action on Saturday against UT San Antonio, so we'll talk a little bit about that the rest of the week. We don't have a Razorback basketball game preview between now and the next time we are on the air, but we've got plenty of stuff that we'll be able to hit later on. We appreciate you joining us today. First day of the year. We hope you'll enjoy your, whatever symbolic foods you eat on this day. If you'll eat your black-eyed peas or whatever. People do that. It's
a hog jowl.
Hog jowl. There you go.
I won't be taking part in it. Maybe a little bit. We'll see.
But we hope you've had a great day. Go out and enjoy some sports. Watch some college football on a New Year's Day. There'd be nothing better than watching some college football on New Year's Day. And we'll be back next time for Weldon and Maddie. I'm Mark saying so long. We'll see you at 11 o'clock next show with the Sports Blitz.